Hi everyone, and welcome to TechTalk Friday. Every Friday we talk technology. We talk about different things that's happening out in the world of technology. And one of the biggest problems today that I think everyone is sort of facing, and we've seen that really hard over the last couple of days, is cybersecurity. There's been some significant attacks on cybersecurity, and one of the things I think we're very glad is that there is technology such as Shepherd, which is an amazing technology brought by CyberArmor that enables us to be able to have zero hacks. Till today, nobody's been able to break through Shepherd. So for cybersecurity, safety, and if you have Shepherd inside or if you're protected by Shepherd, things will be fine. But we're going to talk a little bit about cybersecurity. We're going to talk about that. We've got Danny Kim, cybersecurity expert, is going to come on the show a little bit. We've got Stacy Yeow, our producer, is going to interview him on the MITRE attack chain and what that framework is all about. But before that, let's quickly have a look at Shepherd and what it brings to the table. Shepherd enables you to close out all your open ports, which means that hackers cannot even find where you are. So here's Shepherd. Welcome back, and for those of you who want to check out more on Shepherd, you can go to cyberarmor.asia and check that out. It's an unbelievable technology, especially in light of today, right? I mean, so many different hacks, so many different attacks. Last week we saw, lots of blue screens all around the world, and what we're gonna do today is we're gonna talk a little bit about the MITRE attack chain. Now, what's that? That is actually one of the things. On how hackers actually get into your system. So the MITRE attack chain actually looks at how, from initial access to execution, the persistence. I mean, hackers will sit there and persist to escalate or privilege escalation all the way on to discovery, lateral movement, and finally how they exfiltrate and how they impact your systems. We're going to talk a little bit about that in today's episode. And Francis, welcome to the show. Glad you have joined us. So today is going to be a little bit more on cybersecurity, and we're going to dive into the MITRE attack chain. And today is special because we've got my co-host Stacy and our producer. Stacy is going to have a segment, and Danny Kim is actually in Malaysia. He's running a space camp. So for those of you who are nearby Dui Emas, go out to Dui Emas. I think tomorrow, Saturday, is the big show where kids are doing some space experiments and are going to be sending them out, I guess, to the International Space Station. So lots of stuff happening there. So if you are around the area, go check it out tomorrow. I think from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday, there is a big showcase by the kids. We're going to talk about the MITRE attack chain. But before that, one of the most checkout events at Liramix.com, MLS 2024. That's the Malaysia Leadership Summit that's coming up on September the 18th. So if you're not signed up for it, go sign up for it. We're going to go live now. We're going to talk to Danny Kim, and Stacy Yeow, our producer, is going to be having a chat with him at Dui Emas talking to us a little bit on this whole thing called the MITRE attack chain. So for those who haven't seen the MITRE attack chain, that is coming to you right now. So over to you, Stacy and Danny. Over to you guys.
On the show with us, Danny is the CTO of Full Armor and Group CEO of CyberArmor. He will be explaining the MITRE attack chain today, and we would like to ask you a few questions and that you will explain this to us and we'll understand this a little bit better at the end of this session.
Okay.
So what is the MITRE attack framework and why is it so valuable to cybersecurity professionals to actually truly understand this framework?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think in understanding any type of attack, we needed a common language so that we can communicate across how people are attacking, how they're getting access and whatnot. And everybody before the MITRE attack framework was it's a global resource that's been gathered in tracking the different ways attacks have been happening. And as a result, they outline all the basic steps that people come in and the hackers are coming into organizations. What's nice is because it's become kind of a de facto standard, enterprises are now trying to compare, hey, I got hacked and what happened? They can kind of go through the attack framework and say, hey, this is how they did the reconnaissance, this is how they executed, this is how they got initial access. So we're actually able to talk common language and then be able to compare and contrast on how those attacks happen so that we can now build on that base of knowledge and to start determining how to defend against it.
Right. Do you mind bringing us through a few of these different stages of the MITRE framework?
Sure. I mean, there's 10 stages, but what's nice is if you look at how you would defend yourself from, let's say, in a layman's terms, like how do you defend against someone breaking into your house, right? There may be thieves that are kind of doing reconnaissance. They'll actually kind of figure out how you come in and out of your house, maybe try to figure out how to steal your keys. So they'll do reconnaissance and then they'll try to get initial access. Then they'll try to persist inside. So it's all the different steps that a thief would actually try to do to kind of look at ways in, look for different entryways in. Once they get in, they're going to try to hide in your closet, try to stay persistent, get initial access, and then they're going to decide, how do I move up the chain? So this is called lateral movement. So they'll figure out, oh, I got to get off the first floor. The jewels and the money is on the third floor. So they'll try to figure out ways to get to the next level. And so all this stuff that happens are common methods that hackers use. And what the MITRE attack framework does is it lays out at least all the different attack vectors and how they move across from reconnaissance to actual stealing of your assets and your code. So it's a very important framework to understand because it's almost like having a blueprint or a outline of what a thief is going to do. And so now you can guard against it better.
Right, so that is actually what really helps in threat detection and cyber threat hunting, right? Can you elaborate more on that? Yeah,
so one of the best things, if you know kind of what the top entryways are, and they change, by the way. So it's if you look at different cyber threats and attacks that happen over time, they change their tactics. Obviously, a thief is going to say, hey, I tried going through the front door, and now they're bolting the front door. So they're now going to go through the windows and the crawl spaces. So knowing, and so it's not a static. What's great about the attack framework is it's an exhaustive list of ways that people get in, but it's also alive, meaning they update their data and whatnot. So you have different organizations that feed into that kind of data sets by tracking the latest ways hackers are coming in. So if you look at Google, Mandiant tracks the different ways, the top popular ways that people are getting in. And now, just recently, when I talked to one of the head of Google Mandiant product managers, they said the top 3 methods of entry is through VPNs, firewalls, and routers. The exact technology we use to protect ourselves is what the thieves are using or the hackers are using to get in. So it's very interesting to track because you see the difference in attack vectors and methodologies, and 3 months later, it may change. So it's good to, it's not a static list. It's not a one-time learn it and move on thing. It's something every cybersecurity professional needs to be aware of, the different threat vectors, and also keep on top of to understand here are the different methods people are using to get in and out of and breach into corporate networks.
Right. So this framework, does it evolve over time, and do they update it and things
They
like that?
update the data behind each of the
Right,
sections.
right.
And so if you look online, if you go to the MITRE.org and look up the attack surface,
Yeah.
they actually, behind each of the different methods, they have a link that tells you the latest
Right.
data set of what the people are using to do the initial access, to how to persist, to how to move laterally. And so it's a great resource to have, but it also gives you it kind of gives you also a way to put all the buckets of how different breaches are happening and where they fit into the attack chain model.
Right. I see. So how does this expansion and evolution of AI corporations actually increase cybersecurity vulnerabilities in our companies today?
Yeah. So I think these days, if you don't mention AI in anything you do, you're kind of now out of favor. So and we're not putting this in just because we need to as an obligation. But AI is something that every company that I talk to is looking at implementing some type of AI mechanism, right? And even when I talk to different government agencies, AI can be a great productivity gain and efficiency gain, but they're also scared to death of it because imagine relying too much on AI data, and then AI data is being hacked or compromised. Then you can actually make bad decisions.
Yeah.
And if a threat actor wants to, either damage a company's reputation or potentially even steal some of the AI models that they created and invested time in, those are all things now cybersecurity hackers are targeting, both to corrupt the data, but also to steal the data and the models that the companies have created. So imagine spending all this time on creating a model that allows you to have all of the unique advantages of that company in that model, and then having that model be stolen.
Yeah.
Or I think when I talk to one of our the favorite conversations I have is when I talk to the government officials or Department of Defense of countries. They're scared to death that their military intelligence data, if their folks rely too much on AI data, is gonna be compromised or misdirected.
Yeah.
And so the military makes bad decisions based on the data sets. So it's an area that needs to be guarded. But again, before, when I talk to a lot of the AI folks, before that area is guarded, you have to do all the basic foundational elements to secure your organization first. Right, from just doing the basic things like patching and closing off open ports and installing and putting in firewalls and other things that at least put the basic defense mechanism in. You need to do that before you even start thinking about how do I now secure my AI framework.
I see. So what are some final thoughts or advice you have for organizations or individuals looking to leverage on the power of the MITRE attack framework to make a robust cybersecurity strategy for themselves?
I think one thing that I've learned in talking with hundreds of cybersecurity professionals, both in the corporate, enterprise, commercial realm to the public sector and government sector, is the realization, and not everybody still understands this yet, but in the people who are being attacked constantly, especially U.S. government and others who are constantly under attack, one of the things that they come to realize, and this was maybe 5 years ago, not recent, is that all the frameworks and the protections we put in place to defend against hacking is not stopping the hackers getting in. So most likely, not even most likely, almost guaranteed, the hackers are already inside your network. And that's a very uncomfortable feeling, right? Because it's like me telling you that, your home, the thief is already inside your home.
Yeah.
And
my locks are not working.
The locks aren't working. I mean, the locks work to keep the rabble out, right?
Yeah.
The random passerbys. But if somebody in this new landscape of cybersecurity, where hackers are now equipped with the latest industry standard advanced hacking tools, even the basic hacker now has access to this, right? So as a result, if someone really wanted to attack you, they're already inside your home. Yeah. And it's a very uncomfortable feeling. And sometimes the IT admins and cybersecurity professionals don't want to message that up to the board and the senior leadership because it is an uncomfortable feeling. Yeah. However, we need to we need to feel comfortable in the uncomfortable before we can even come to address the solution, right? And that is, the threat actors are already inside your network. What do you do then to make sure you mitigate that risk? And there's a lot of different tactics and strategies to do that. But the MITRE attack framework gives you actually the kind of a blueprint of how you can address when the threat actor is already inside your network, and what you need to do to get there, get them out.
Okay, thank you so much, Danny, for coming on the show with us today. We hope to see you in the next time and have you again on the show.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
And thanks so much, Stacy and Danny, for coming on for this quick 10-15 minutes rundown on the MITRE attack chain. So for those of you who missed that part, Danny went through this whole MITRE attack framework. And one of the things I think that's interesting, and Danny's also the CEO. So for those of you who don't know Danny is an industry expert, the CEO of CyberArmor and the founder of Full Armor, and he's developed a technology that is very unique. The technology is called Shepherd. It protects, it's unhackable. I mean, it's been, for those of you on my show, I think a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, we had Data who used to be part of the Red Team in the US, and he tried to basically hack into this whole tech called Shepherd. It's a unique way of networking that protects your organization from cyber attacks. And then he came just now as the CEO for CyberArmor that distributes this technology around the world. So Danny, thanks, and Stacy, thank you. I want to dive in a little bit to this whole MITRE attack chain. And one of the things I think is very interesting is, SolarWinds was attacked last year. And really, at the end of the day, it was all about how, in a real world relevance, the MITRE framework was being used by hackers to get in. So it's not just a theoretical framework. It's actually based on real world observation of cyber attacks. It's very practical for security professionals, and also for people in senior leadership in boards. In your C-suite, you have to understand the MITRE framework. It's like your balance sheet or income statement or cash flow. So if you're running a business and you know your income statement, your cash flow, and your balance sheet, understanding the MITRE attack framework is critical, because that helps you to see, where, if you're being attacked, and it's going to happen, right, at some point in time, you understand that it's beyond detection, right? It's not just about detecting attacks. It's when they're happening, you kind of say, is this an initial access? Is this an execution? Is this a persistent? Is this a privilege escalation? Or is this a defense evasion? Where is it in the MITRE exchange, MITRE's attack chain, right? Or MITRE attack framework? And you can kind of say, hey, how can we stop it? Can we contain it to this and push it out and save? Don't allow lateral movement if it's in the credential access stage. And enable that attack to be significantly muted. And I want to talk a little bit about SolarWinds, because SolarWinds is pretty interesting, right? Because SolarWinds attack, it was discovered in the late 2020s, was a sophisticated supply chain attack that impacted thousands of organizations worldwide. So the attackers compromised SolarWinds Orient software update. So this is a software update mechanism to distribute malware that was known as Sunburst to all its customers. So this malware allowed attackers to gain access to the victim network, to steal data, to perform malicious activities, right? Essentially how the MITRE attack framework helped. I mean, because you can start. So security researchers actually use the MITRE attack matrix to break down the attack into constituent tactics and techniques, right? This helped them to understand the full scope of the access, from initial access to persistent, privileged execution, and lateral movement to exfiltration, right? They also identified patterns by mapping the attack to the framework. Researchers were then able to identify patterns of behaviors commonly associated with the suspected threat actor, right? And this was believed to be a Russian state-sponsored group. This helped them anticipate the attacker's next move and develop mitigation strategies. And finally, this MITRE attack framework actually provided a common language for researchers, for security vendors, for organizations to share about the attack. And this facilitated collaboration and accelerated the development of detection and quick response tools. So in this specific SolarWinds, so it was initial access through supply chain compromise. There's execution through system binary proxy execution. So if you look back at the supply chain, initial access was really through supply chain compromise, execution of system binary proxy execution. There's persistence to schedule tasks or jobs. There's privilege execution to valid accounts, defense evasion through obfuscated files or information and project, and credential accessing through OS credential dumping, discovery through network service scanning and account discovery, lateral movement from reward services, collection data from local systems, command and control, web protocols, ingress tool transfer, and finally exfiltration, data transfer size limits, right? So you can see how this MITRE attack framework actually helps significantly. And we want to thank Danny and Stacy for that insight. I'm gonna this is gonna be a short tech talk. I noticed a couple of comments. Thank you to Dr. Prasad and also to Francis for being here. Welcome everyone, and we look forward next week. We'll continue with Tech Talk Friday. We'll have some guests from Google. We're getting some guests from different places from all over the world to be on our show. Thank you everyone for joining us here on Tech Talk Friday. And I am going to basically sort of close out our show with, again, a solution. So the solution to all this is essentially a technology called Shepherd, and it's available now in Asia. So check out Shepherd at CyberArmor.Asia, and if you need more information, you can go to info@cyberarmor.asia. And I'm gonna close out with a short, quick video on what the Shepherd technology is, and it's essentially a stealth-based technology that hides the attack surface or eliminates your network attack surface, and it contains breaches. I think a couple of the examples went down to 0 breaches. So thank you everyone, and we look forward to having you at Tech Talk Friday next. So here's a quick overview of Shepherd, and we'll close out the show for today.